Hi, second grade. Happy Tuesday. So, we're going to keep learning about plants, and today we're going to learn about something very important, and that is pollen. But before we get started, I want to kind of review yesterday. So, yesterday we talked about seed dispersal, how seeds get moved around the earth. And I want you to remind me, try and think, what are some ways we learned about? What are some ways that seeds can be moved? What are some ways they can travel? I remember animals was one of them. What was another one? Water. People. It's kind of windy out here. The wind. The wind can move seeds. Did I say animals? If I didn't, that's definitely one because we talked about the squirrel that can pick up acorns and take them to his little shelter. So yesterday I went on my own seed adventure, just like I asked you to do. And I went to the park and I went for a walk and I found some helicopters. And I thought, oh, I wonder how these got here. And then I remembered the song that we listened to. And I realized it was probably the wind that blew them around because I have that cool shape that makes them spin around. So that was my adventure yesterday. I hope you had fun on yours. So today we're going to learn about pollen. And our goal today is that I can demonstrate how an animal pollinates flowers. And I have a pretty fun challenge for you, and that we will get to in just a little bit. But before we get started, we have to learn about pollen. Like, what even is pollen? So let's read a story and let's find out. So we're going to read the first chapter of the story, Nectar and Pollen. A hungry beetle lands on a flower. It wants the nectar inside. Nectar is liquid sugar. It gives creatures energy. The beetle takes something else too. What? Tiny grains of pollen. They stick to the insect's body. The beetle doesn't know it, but it will carry this pollen with it. It will pollinate the next tasty plant it lands on. I'm going to pause real quick because I used some big words in there. I feel a little confused. I know they talked about nectar and then it said nectar is liquid sugar. That makes sense. It gives the creatures energy. Okay. So the beetle wanted the nectar. So the beetle was hungry for some sugar. I feel that. I want some sugar too. But then he took something else. He took pollen. They didn't really tell us what that was. Let's see if it can tell us.
Pollen.
Oh, pollen is tiny particles in part of a flower that will fertilize the seeds. And they usually appear as yellow dust. So they usually show up as yellow dust. It looks like there's some pollen on this beetle right here. Oh, yep, there it is. So it sounds like pollen is going to help flowers grow or plants grow. But this beetle didn't even know it. Well, let's keep learning. What is pollination? It is a process with steps. While a visitor eats from a flower, it rubs against the stamens. These are the male parts of the flower. Their tops are covered with sticky, powdery pollen. Oh, right, and the pollen is the yellow stuff, so it looks like it's here on the stamen, so when a beetle or a bug came to eat, it got that dust all over its body. Did you know flowers have bright colors and sweet scents? Why? To attract insects, birds, bats, and other creatures no nectar is inside. This is how the plant draws them in. Interesting. The stamens surround the pistil. This is the flower's female part. The ovary is at the bottom. It will hold the plant's seeds. At the very top is the stigma. It is very sticky. Pollen from the wind or a hungry visitor easily sticks to it. Once pollen is on the pistil, it changes, and the pollen grows a tube. It goes all the way down the pistil. This is how the pollen's male cells travel to the ovary. So I think that the animal comes to eat some nectar, right, the liquid sugar, and they end up getting pollen all over the flower, and so then that helps it grow. So look, they drew us a little picture here. So your pollen comes and it gets on the stigma and the pistil, and it's right here too. And then once it goes down, that helps it grow.
Stamen.
All right, so let's go back to what we were learning about. So I read to you that first chapter all about pollen and nectar, and I have some challenge questions for you. I want you to write or draw about 2 things that you learned about from that read aloud. So I'll have you pause and get in your journal and go ahead and write down or draw to answer those questions. Here are my challenge questions, and these could kind of be your answers that you choose for your 2 things that you learned about. What is nectar, and what does nectar do? Or you could talk about pollen. What is pollen, and what does pollen do? Those are my challenge questions for you today. I'm going to have you pause and then hit play when you're all done. All right, now that you've got that all done, I have an acted out challenge for you. And this is when we're going to demonstrate how an animal pollinates flowers. So, think of an animal that pollinates flowers. What were some ones they talked about in the read aloud? I think they talked about bugs, birds, bees, bats. That was good alliteration. Did you hear how each word I said started with the same sound? Birds, bats, bees, bugs. They all start with B. So my question for you is, when you think of that animal, can you act out how it does its job? Think of pollen as the food that the animal has to provide to the flower. I'm going to make an example one, so go ahead and watch that now, and then I want you to make your own acted out, and that is my last challenge for you today. Love teaching science to you guys, and I'll see you again tomorrow.